everybody so bright and early this morning? I was just enjoying my first cup of coffee and thinking to myself, what a nice treat it would be to make my family a coffee cake for breakfast this morning. So in case you're wondering to yourself, where does a coffee cake come from? Well, a coffee cake does not have any actual coffee in it. A coffee cake is made with flour, butter, and a streusel-like topping, and it goes great with a cup of coffee. That's why it's called coffee cake. So we're going to start off today with our coffee cake that we're going to make in our bundt pan. And I've already prepared for everybody a very well-greased bundt pan. And a bundt pan is what you use in order to make a coffee cake, and this is going to get turned upside down so that the decorative bottom is going to show on our coffee cake. So you want to make sure you grease all those nooks and crannies in there. We're going to start off with our streusel topping first. And in our streusel topping, it has 1 cup of flour, 1 cup of brown sugar, and now I'm going to incorporate a 1/2 cup of butter. Now, the 1/2 cup of butter, or 1 stick, has already been diced up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in that bowl where I've already added 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. And I'm going to use my pastry blender, and I'm going to cut in the butter into the flour. Now, you want to work this with a back and forth kind of motion. I'm letting the butter soften a bit, but it still needs a little bit of working. So let me just get another knife here. All right, I'm going to scrape it off. Now, pastry blenders come in different styles, or different types, if you will. Some pastry blenders have these wire-like pieces. Other ones have a solid metal. And those solid metal ones do give you a little bit more power behind, if you will, to mix everything in. And what you're looking to do is just to make a topping, just to make a crumb topping, and you just want everything mixed up. Just get this. So it might take a few times of scraping, a few times of incorporating. And if you don't have a pastry blender at home, and that's okay, not everybody does, if you don't have one at home, you might want to just consider 2 forks. That'll work just as well, because our goal is to really make a nice crumbly topping. All right, and you can see those crumbs are starting to form. We've incorporated our butter into it. Now, this recipe is going to be so delicious because it has so much butter in it. The topping alone has 1 stick of butter, but the actual batter has 2 sticks of butter in it. And I always suggest using real butter. I don't like to use margarine. I think it has a funny taste, but if you are lactose intolerant or you're dairy free because of dietary reasons, you can substitute this for Crisco or some other sort of shortening, but I recommend a butter flavored one if that's what you're gonna do. And butter is always best, thanks to our friend, the cow. All right, I'm gonna leave this for right now, and it looks pretty good. Maybe another, one more time. It's so hard to get going in the morning without a full cup of coffee. I do love to wake my family up to the smell of fresh baked products. All right, now it looks good. Alrighty. Now, I'm going to step over to my KitchenAid mixer, and I have a 1/2 pound or 2 sticks of butter ready to go. Ready to go. Even the butter can't wake up this morning. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these 2 sticks of butter, and I'm going to mix in 3/4 of a cup brown sugar and a 1/2 cup of regular white sugar into my KitchenAid mixer. And I'm just going to do that. I'm going to cream that until it's soft and ready. Okay, my butter and sugar mixture looks light and fluffy. And now I'm going to add my 2 eggs, large eggs of course, 1 at a time. One at a time, I'm adding those eggs in. And then my vanilla goes next. I always like to use real vanilla extract You can buy imitation vanilla. It's a little bit less expensive, but it doesn't have the true flavor of vanilla. So when you can, always use real vanilla extract. Okay, so I have this. I'm gonna scrape it one time with my rubber scraper. And notice that with the KitchenAid mixer, I did use the beater bar. That was my choice for today. Okay, scrape. And now I'm going to add the flour. And I'm going to add the flour slowly to my mixture. And then I'm going to add maybe half of the milk. I'm going to let that mix. And then I'm going to add the rest of my flour. And my flour already has the baking powder in it. So it was 2 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and 1/3 of a cup of milk. Then I'm alternating into the bowl here. Now, this is going to be a beautiful coffee cake batter. It's brown, smells delicious, and it's going to make a beautiful coffee cake. Okay, I'm going to mix the rest of this by hand because I don't want to over mix my coffee cake. Now, you can see that these are relatively quick and easy to make, some basic ingredients, and it's a great way to start off the day. Not a bad way to end the day either, to be honest. All right, nice thick batter with our eggs. Okay. Now, what you want to do for this bundt pan, once you have it good and greased, is you're going to alternate between batter and streusel topping, so that when you flip this over, you're going to have the cake batter first, and then layered in between is going to be that streusel topping that we made with cinnamon, we made with a little bit of flour, and you can also add pecans to your streusel topping. Now, I didn't do that only because I'm allergic to nuts and I didn't want to put pecans in mine, but you certainly can put pecans and it adds a nice flavor, especially in the fall. Okay, so I'm going to add half of my batter, and you notice it's a really thick batter, so you're almost just dolloping it in. Okay. Scrape it with our bigger scraper. This is all going in a bundt pan. Now, bundt pan, don't confuse that with an angel food cake. An angel food cake is made with a cake that just has egg whites, does not have flour and sugars like this one does, but they both have that center tube in the middle, so some people confuse them. Very thick batter. Our liquid ingredient in here is milk. And I always like to bake with whole milk because the recipe really does need that fat that whole milk has in it. I don't like to substitute different kinds of milk or whole milk. If a recipe calls for milk, I always assume that they want me to use whole milk. Now, I'm going to take part of my streusel topping and spread it around. So half is going to go in the middle, and then half is going to go on our final layer. And you just want those crumbs again to be coarse crumbs. You want to keep them in the pan as much as you can. Okay. Now scrape out the rest. It doesn't want to come off the scraper this morning. Okay. Making progress. All right, my oven is preheated to 325 degrees, and this bundt pan is going to take about an hour in the oven, 325 degrees, and then it's going to take a little bit of time to cool down. So it'll give me some time to relax and enjoy my cup of coffee before this cake comes out of the oven and before that delicious smell wakes my family up. Okay, that should be just about it. And we're going to put the final layer of the streusel topping on top. All oven's all set and ready to go. Come on, guy. Okay. Okay. There you go. The topping on top. And remember, when you flip this over to cool it, it's going to have that beautiful design on the bottom. So you want to go get your cooling rack out so it's ready for when this comes out of the oven. So come on over to the oven. I'm going to put this in 325 degrees for about an hour. Shh, I hope everybody wakes up quietly. I'm going to go have some more coffee. All right, well, I'm up and ready to go for the day, and my coffee cake has baked in the oven for just a little over an hour. It's still a little bit warm to the touch, and I put it on a cooling rack to cool it and allow the air to circulate underneath. What I'm gonna do is take this teeny spatula, and I'm just gonna loosen up the sides a little bit, just a teeny bit, and I'm gonna let it cool just a little bit more. And when it's cooled for about 15 or 20 minutes, I'm gonna flip it upside down. It's not quite ready yet now because it just came out of the oven, but I'm gonna wait about 15 minutes before I turn it upside down and serve it to my family for breakfast. In the meantime, I'm gonna wake everybody up. Good morning, rise and shine. I hope everybody has a great day and that you can start off your day with a coffee cake and a cup of coffee.